He knocked me over. I landed on the dog bowl.
This one's wife, smacked down. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Prince Harry and this one's wife certainly have ideas above their station. You might think, oh, come now, H.G. How could they? He's a prince, he's a duke, she's a duchess. Don't they have high station? Well, they've got titles. His by birth, and then, of course, being awarded by the Queen on their marriage. She just married in. She's nobody special. Neither is he, really. Nevertheless, they've both had their bodies smacked down. You see, this one's wife and this one are essentially largely irrelevant. The only role they really utilise these days is providing people with amusement and ridicule, or a raging debate between those that support them and those that find them irritating, annoying and hypocritical. There are some who see them as useful with regard to their own agendas and therefore continue to provide them with support. The media, of course, recognises that they're hugely newsworthy, not because they're particularly interesting of themselves, but because so many people want to see them fail, so many people want to know what they're up to, so many people want to see the train wreck finally arrive at destination obscurity. The reality is that you have an ex-actress who has no charisma, no talent, no entrepreneurial skills, and is rather boring. You also have her husband, a chap who served in the army, who is from the royal family, who has got involved in charitable activities, but beyond that isn't particularly bright and hasn't really known anything outside of the privileged and costative lifestyle that he has enjoyed. Neither of them are really going to bring anything to the party other than the fact that they're internationally famous. He's only famous because of the family that he comes from. She's only famous because of the man that she married. Neither of them have got there through talent, brilliance, or sheer endeavour. Nevertheless, they think that they're far more important than they actually are. But they both recognise that their connection to royalty is what gives them some degree of kudos, notwithstanding all of the foul-ups that have occurred. And therefore, that is why the titles remain so important to them. And it's also why, because they're struggling to find any appreciable role for themselves, that they operate on the basis of cosplaying as royals. They are not working members of the royal family. They made a decision a number of years ago to remove themselves from the royal family, and indeed have spent quite a bit of time thereafter complaining about the royal family, maintaining that they're the victims of terrible behaviour by certain members of the royal family, and going out of their way to make the royal family seem like a bunch of absolute rotters. Nevertheless, despite all of this smearing, the only relevance that they have is their connection to that royalty, and therefore they have been necessitated into ensuring that they behave like royals even though they actually aren't working royals, that they embark upon these faux royal tours for the purposes of behaving like they are working members of royalty because they haven't got anything else to offer. It's not like this one's wife is going to be able to go to a business and troubleshoot it. She has no experience of doing so. So she has to turn up and ask, where have you come from? And, oh, that looks interesting. And, yes, I've got a coat in camel too. She isn't able to offer anything meaningful because she's a fairly empty individual. But also, all that she can do is wander around in the way that certain royals would do so, taking an interest and bringing publicity to whichever charity or organisation or manufactory that she has attended. She doesn't really have a role. Her content creation is sparse, and when it does happen to squeeze something out, it really is a turd. She has no political nous. She's inherently lazy. Harry's not interested in graft in terms of content creation. He hasn't really got any skills that he can utilise, other than he's interested in charity. And if he kept his head down, he could have gone off to Africa and got on with all of that and really enjoyed himself doing something practical, which is something that he's better at as compared to the cerebral. But the pair of them have been floundering around, trying to find some kind of role. And as we've seen, they haven't been able to carve one out. So what do they fall back on? Well, we'll behave like royals. Except you're not working royals. Well, we'll go on tours anyway. Yeah, but you're not royals. We'll go and visit people and be royally. Yeah, but you're not actually working royals. That's all that they've got. No real insight, nothing meaningful in terms of observations. They're not going to come along with jaw-dropping entrepreneurial input. They're not going to be able to provide meaningful life experiences with regard to many of the things that people have faced. And therefore, all they can do is turn up, be polite, take an interest, wander around, pose for photos, and then go away again, much like royals do. Except they're not working royals. And we've seen this once again in their forthcoming visit to Nigeria, where they've been invited, and the suggestion is that the poverty-stricken nation is actually paying for them to attend. Otherwise, why on earth would this one's wife be interested in going to Africa? There has to be because she's getting money out of it, and it'll provide her with some Netflix footage in order to try and perhaps unlock a further tranche of payment from that organisation. Other than that, she has no interest in Africa whatsoever. But she's doing it once again as cosplaying at a royal. But notwithstanding this, which shows a lack of boundary recognition on her part, the chameleon nature and the sense of entitlement of the narcissist, both he and she have been smacked down. According to Punch, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, Prince Harry and his wife, this one's wife, have agreed to visit Nigeria at the invitation of the country's Chief of Defence Staff, General Christopher Musa. British High Commissioner in Nigeria, Dr. Richard Montgomery, disclosed in an interview with the news agency of Nigeria in the course of his courtesy visit to the managing director of the agency, Malam Ali M. Ali, in Abuja. He said, "It's great that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex are visiting Nigeria, which I understand is at the invitation of Defence Headquarters, but they are visiting in a private capacity, not an official one. So the British High Commission is not involved in arranging or facilitating their programme. They are not representing the work of His Majesty's government on the visit." There you are. There's the firm smackdown by the British High Commissioner in Nigeria, making it very clear that they are not attending and representing the work of His Majesty's government, that it is not a royal visit, it is simply a private one. Despite their attempts to cosplay at being royals, the British High Commission, no doubt on the instruction of possibly a relevant individual within government, maybe even the King, have wanted it made clear, these two aren't here to represent anybody. This is just a private visit. Once again demonstrating the loss of status that they've experienced, but also the fact that people see clearly what they're up to. Aha, we see you, Ginge and Whinge. We see you cosplaying as royals. We see you, Hank and Skank, toddling off over to Nigeria and making out as if you're still royals. You're not working royals. So, High Commissioner, make it known. And thus he does, and they get a smack down. Apparently their itinerary includes visits to military rehabilitation centres, sports facilities and meetings with local organisations working to support veterans' welfare. They will also attend cultural events and engage in discussions with community leaders on topics. So they're going to go wandering around, doing some talking and doing some watching, which demonstrates just probably at the upper limit of both of their collective abilities. But the point is this. They've been seen as to what they're up to, and in order to ensure that they're kept in the appropriate lane, they are given a smackdown as to being told, this is just simply a private visit. That, of course, will annoy this one's wife. She doesn't like to be told. Nobody tells her what to do. She still believes herself to be queen. But with the British High Commissioner being moved to do this, it demonstrates two things. One, the relevant people know full well what Harry and this one's wife are about. And secondly, they won't hesitate to ensure that everybody realises that they're not representing anybody, that they're not part of the working royal family, and they're just acting in a private capacity. So don't think you're getting anything special. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.